Welcome to The Explainer. All right, today we're going to crack open the interview playbook for senior tech roles at some of the best companies out there, like Thoughtworks. We're diving deep into a guide that spells out exactly what they're looking for. And here's a spoiler, it's not just about writing perfect code. Okay, so let's just jump right in with a question that honestly drives a lot of us crazy in this industry. Why do brilliant developers, people who can solve incredibly complex problems in their sleep, why do they so often get rejected in the technical interview? Well, it's a super common problem, and we can call it the silent genius paradox. This is the situation where knowing the perfect answer or writing absolutely flawless code just isn't enough. Why? Because if you can't talk about how you got there, if you can't collaborate, then the right answer can still get you a rejection. And this slide, it just lays it all out, doesn't it? On the left, you see what fails. Silence, short answers, basically just coding in a bubble. But on the right, you see what succeeds, a collaborative dialogue. You have to get this. For these top companies, they're not just evaluating your code, they're evaluating how you think. In that room, your thought process is the product. So the very first step to mastering this whole process is understanding the fatal errors. These are the small things that even the smartest, most talented candidates make that can completely sink an otherwise great interview. And the guide is absolutely ruthless about what it calls fatal errors. Going silent for more than 30 seconds, the interviewer just assumes you're lost. Not explaining the why behind a technical choice, they're going to assume you don't have a good reason. These aren't just little slip-ups, you see. They're seen as red flags for how you'd act on a real team. Okay, so let's get to the solution. This is where we build up from the problem. There's a structured method here, and it's all about turning that internal monologue of yours into a collaborative conversation. You want to make your interviewer a partner in solving the problem, not just some judge watching you work. This quote right here, pulled straight from the guide, is the core philosophy. This is everything. It completely reframes the entire goal of the interview. You are not there to pass a test. You are there to show them what it would be like to work with you. For a company like Thoughtworks, communication isn't some soft skill, it is the main event. So the guide actually gives you a playbook for how to manage your 45 minutes. And just look at this. Notice how much time is dedicated before you're even supposed to start coding seriously. 12 full minutes for understanding and planning. That's more than a quarter of the entire interview. They want to see you think before you type. Now, this whole communication first idea, it goes way beyond just talking. It actually transforms your entire approach to the code itself, lifting it from just solving a problem to what the guide calls true engineering craft. Let's take a look at test-driven development, or TDD. This slide really highlights the difference in mindset. A junior developer often just sees it as a chore, right? I have to write tests. But a senior engineer sees it as a powerful design practice. For them, the test is the specification. It defines what success looks like before a single line of implementation is even written. And you see this exact same leap in thinking when it comes to deployment. A junior might just think, okay, I'll save the model file. But a senior? A senior is thinking about the entire production system. How do we version this? How do we make it reproducible? How do we track it? This is the foundation of a really important concept called CI/CD for ML. They're not just building a model, they're building a reliable, automated pipeline. So, what is this CD4ML thing we just mentioned? It stands for Continuous Delivery for Machine Learning. And really, it's a core Thoughtworks philosophy. It's all about bringing that discipline and automation that we see in DevOps into the world of data science, which, let's be honest, can often be pretty messy and manual. The guide actually points to 4 key pillars for building a system like this. First up, DVC. It lets you version your data so you always know exactly which data trained which model. Then there's Docker, which packages everything up so it runs anywhere, finally putting an end to the, well, it works on my machine problem. Third, something like GitHub Actions to automate the whole testing and training process. And finally, MLflow to track every single experiment and manage your models. Put them all together and you've got a professional, reliable system. And that brings us to the final and, frankly, the most crucial stage of this whole transformation: thinking like a senior leader. This isn't just about code anymore. This is about strategy, it's about ethics, and it's about the real-world business impact of every technical decision you make. So let me ask you a question. Is 95% accuracy good enough? A junior engineer might hear that and immediately go, yeah, that's great. But a senior engineer asks a much, much more important question. Sure, it's accurate, but is it fair? This example from the guide is just so powerful. Look at Model A. Yeah, it's technically more accurate, but look what it's doing. It's dangerously biased against Group B. Now, Model B is a little less accurate overall, but it's way more equitable. A senior engineer is expected to see this, to be able to explain the huge ethical and legal risks of Model A, and to argue for the fairer solution. Your job isn't just to be accurate, it's to be responsible. So you have the communication method, you have the technical craft, and you have the senior mindset. But how do you actually demonstrate all of this when the pressure is on and you're in the hot seat? Well, the guide's final piece of advice is to start thinking of your interview as a performance. And to help with that performance, the guide suggests you arm yourself with some specific phrases. So instead of just jumping straight into the code, you might say something like, hold on, I want to validate we're solving the right problem first. Or when you're making a choice, you say, okay, I'll make my trade-offs explicit here. These aren't just buzzwords. They are signals that you prioritize business value and clear collaboration over just churning out code. So, if there's one big thing to take away from this whole playbook, it's this. The interview is not a quiz. It is a rehearsal for how you will act as a colleague. It's your performance of collaborative problem solving. And the final question they're really asking isn't, do you know the answer? It's, are you ready to join the team?